The following program is a public service of Gulf Coast State College, WKGC, and Commodore Productions. And now, the Military Hour with Cary Dieter.
Welcome to Military Hour. We've got a very special guest with us today. I'm excited. I'm going to try and keep myself contained. Those of you that know me know that I'm going to have to work at that. But in any event, I want to introduce Lieutenant Colonel David Brogdon, retired. David, tell us about you and what you're up to, because I am wowed by this.
Well, we're very blessed, and about this time last year we retired, and we now have started a 501(c), a charity by the name of the Hope Project.
The Hope Project.
Yep.
And there's the Hope Project. If we can, and I'm just going to flip this open, and we're going to have the website up in a little bit. But before you jump in, he's also co-authored this booklet that is a tremendous help for veterans. Okay, I'm going to shut up. Okay. There you go.
We started the Hope Project, and the Hope Project is an acronym because we know how much the military loves acronyms. And the Hope acronym stands for Healing Our Patriots with Equines. And what we do is we rescue horses from kill pens and slaughterhouses. And it's illegal to slaughter horses for meat in the United States. And so what we do is we rescue these horses and we keep them from being shipped to Mexico or Canada for meat. And these horses are beautiful, and many times they're abused, and so we bring them in to our ranch and we take care of them and we find them healing, and we use these rescue horses to work with wounded warriors and combat vets and first responders, children and their families. Anyone that needs hope, that's what we're there for. And ultimately, the reason we do what we do primarily is because of 22.
Right.
And as we know and you're aware of, that every day at least 22 veterans take their lives and commit suicide. And we're here to try to share hope and to hopefully bring that number down to 0. But anytime we can make a difference and share hope, that's what we're about.
That is almost epidemic proportions when you think about that many per day. We must help our veterans. And some people may have the notion that it's just males. No, it's male and female.
It is.
So it's no respecter of gender. These problems run deep and need to be addressed. It's really a national shame that we haven't done a better job helping our veterans.
Well, I have a lot to be thankful for. We deployed 4 different times to wonderful tropical paradises like Iraq with sand and palm trees, and Afghanistan and Africa and Kuwait. Yeah. And we were very thankful that when we came home, we did have support, and people did support the troops, especially after 9/11 and what happened.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I know many Vietnam vets that didn't have the support we did. But one thing I realized on deployments, and why I think that number 22 is so high and why it happens, is it's all about relationships. Mm-hmm. When we're deployed, we have our battle buddies.
Sure.
And someone said soldiers don't die for the nation, they die for their buddies.
Yep.
And so when I was in Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever, I had my battle buddies, and they would die for me and I would die for them.
Of course.
And we're family. We went through so much together, whether it was loss of life or attacks and things like that, or just the hardships of being away from home.
Right.
And so we have those relationships, but when we come home, often we lose those relationships because soldiers PCS or you know, they leave the military, and so we lose those relationships and that purpose of meaning that we have. And then if we're struggling with PTS or PTSD, that makes things even harder, and we may lose our families because we don't handle that very well. And so once you've lost your battle buddies, you've lost your families, many just lose hope and they give up. And
it compounds.
It
the problem
does.
just compounds.
It does. And PTSD is so devastating, and I personally believe that we have more soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors who have PTSD that have not been diagnosed than those who have. and there are many reasons for that. And so what we're about is building relationships. And so if we can share hope by building a relationship with a wonderful horse, that's a start. And then we try to build relationships with others, battle buddies and vets just like us, and also strengthen those relationships with families. That's what we're about. And then ultimately, as a retired and tired Army chaplain, I'm there if they're willing to try to help them build a relationship or strengthen their relationship with God. It's been my faith that has kept me going. Many times I've battled suicide and effects of 3 different TBIs and just PTSD. And so I have my down times. I have those times I struggle, and everything from guilt to my family going through tough times because of me. And it's been my faith in God and those positive relationships that have kept me going.
I understand that, and I mentioned to you, and obviously not something I like to admit. I pretty much ruined 2 marriages with some of my issues, problems. I'm bound and determined not to make those mistakes again, and it took me a long time to get the help, because I'm that generation, one of those in that generation that I call it the suck it up buttercup generation. You know, the get over it.
Suck it up and drive on.
Yeah, but you don't know how, and you just keep making matters worse and worse and worse. And thankfully, I believe those days are gone now. That I'm learning with
your new normal
to cope. Yes, my new normal. Yeah.
And many times I'm always humbled when somebody says thank you for your service. I've been very blessed. God allowed me to serve my nation and my soldiers and families and military, and I'm thankful for that. I'm really uncomfortable if someone calls me a hero. Yeah. Heroes are those who didn't make it back home.
Amen.
But if I was to say that anyone's were heroes besides those who gave their lives, I would say it was the family members.
Sure, they serve just as well.
They serve, and when we're deployed, we know we're okay. We know what we're doing. We're worrying about them back home, but back at home, those family members don't know.
They don't know.
And they're waiting for that doorbell to ring and a chaplain and another casualty assistance officer to give them the bad news. And then when we come home, when you've spent 9 months in Afghanistan or Iraq or 15 months or the time in Vietnam or Korea or even World War II, I say I left Iraq, I left Afghanistan, but they never left me. And so my wife, my family, they had to live with the new me.
Right.
And, my stupid meter stays maxed out. I don't have patience. And one of the reasons the book came along, First Aid for Veterans, is a really good buddy of mine who's a psychologist and a Christian pastor wrote a series called First Aid for Your Emotional Hurts. And the publisher asked him to work on a book for veterans. And we were good friends, and he knew my background with the military. And so we worked together on this book. And what makes this book different is that it's written from a perspective of a veteran who has PTSD, who knows those battles, who has battled TBI and all the things that come along with it. So, the first half of the book is basically, this is what PTSD looks like and TBI, and this is what it feels like. And it's good for family members, too, because it helps them kind of understand. And the second half is basically, here's how we live with our new normal. Here's how, we can survive and actually grow and be able to help others. And so really that's what we're all about.
Well, I just think that what you're doing is a necessary work.
It is.
And I think it's wonderful that, God has laid it on your heart to pick up that particular mantle, if you will, and roll with it. And if you would, just because I feel like it should be you that does it, explain how this came to fruition as best you can. And if you want to hold this piece up, I don't know if they can pan in on this or not, but the brochure, we're going to make sure that you can get in touch with Lieutenant Colonel David Brogdon, retired, and the Hope Project. We'll show the website once again, but kind of run through that, if you will.
Well, what happened, and you talk about God opening doors. I didn't realize that I was going to be medically retired. After 25 years active duty, 16 as a chaplain, 9 years enlisted, total of 33 years of being a soldier, all the deployments and all the time playing Army,
right.
and old age creeping up on me, the Army promoted me, and then shortly thereafter decided it was time for me to go. And so this time last year, I was medically retired, and it was a real blow to my image, my
Sure.
self-image, because I'd been a soldier. I'd even made it to lieutenant colonel, which just meant I hung around long enough to do that, and been serving as a chaplain, and then seemed like the next day I was a nobody and didn't know what to do. And I was praying about it, Lord, what do I do now? And God opened the door because we have two very dear friends here in Panama City Beach, Kelly Eisen and her husband Ryan. Ryan's actually a student here at Gulf State.
Good deal.
And he's in the Air Guard, and he's deployed to Afghanistan and some places. And Kelly is a British nanny with accent and all, and she is just hilarious. And Kelly really was into rescuing animals, and she started with cats and dogs. And my favorite of her rescues is a Doberman. And a Doberman by the name of Xena that had like 2,000 ticks on it.
Oh,
and she
goodness.
rescued Xena, and now Xena weighs about 140 pounds and thinks she's a lap dog. So when I go to visit, Xena climbs up in my lap and gives me all the love there I can get. And about a year ago, she started rescuing horses. And what happens is horses are sent to auctions, and too many of these horses are bought by slaughterhouses.
Sure.
And what happens is they're trucked from the area. Many go to Mexico, where it's a 32-hour semi ride with no water, no meat,
Oh,
and they are
goodness.
really savagely slaughtered in Mexico and also Canada, and they're used for meat that's consumed there, and also in Europe and in the Far East and all over. And so there are some really dear people who will go to these auctions and try to outbid. And so what we do is we raise money and we buy these rescue horses. My horse, Angel, is beautiful. She's pulled off a slaughter truck. And in fact, today we have two beautiful giraffes that are going to arrive from Pennsylvania that were rescued.
Draft horses.
Draft horses,
from up
Belgian.
in Amish country.
Amish country.
Yeah.
And so they'll arrive at the Hope Project today out there in the Greenhead area.
Good deal.
And Kelly started rescuing these horses, and because I was an Army chaplain, I did a lot of couples retreats and singles retreats down here in this area from Fort Benning and Fort Rucker and some other places.
Right.
She provided child care, her business. She owns Nanny Can, and then she owns Monkey Business out in Pier Park. And so we became family, just about, and she adopted us, and we adopted our own British friend there. And she wanted to give back to the military. And so she began asking around and found out about equine therapy places.
Uh-huh.
And so she was talking to me. She was all excited about it. She said, I need a counselor. I said, well, I'll do it. And she said, you're retired. I said, no, there's no such thing as retirement.
Yeah.
And so we got together, and myself, Kelly, and Ryan, we formed the Hope Project. And shortly thereafter, we received our 501(c) charitable status. And last week, I just received my certification to do EAP. And EAP stands for Equine Assisted Psychotherapy, which could mean I'm certifiable and certified,
Fabulous.
or a psycho doing psychotherapy. But what we do is we use horses because God has given these horses this amazing ability to read our emotions and feelings and act on those. And there's no riding involved. And what we're able to do is we're able to see the interaction of the horses and the person and be able to use that to bring therapy and hopefully bring some healing to their lives.
So more or less, you're going to be walking with a horse and petting the horse.
Exactly.
But no riding.
No riding. Now we do have the availability if someone wants to ride, they can.
Oh, okay.
Someone asked if I knew how to ride a horse, and I said I know how to fall off. And so I wasn't a horse person a couple of months ago, but now I love horses. They're amazing, and I know with TBI, And PTSD, I have headaches constantly, and the memory issues and the frustrations, and I'll have my bad days. I get around the horses, and it just almost vanishes.
Yeah.
They're loving and they're beautiful. And so if someone wants to ride, we have that ability to teach lessons or to just ride in the arena, lead them around, or we're actually going to be able to do trail rides with some of our rescues in the future.
Well, now that's interesting, yeah.
And so basically all we want to do is help and provide time with the horses. And it's really the best of both worlds. You get to help with rescue horses, and then we get to help with our wounded warriors, our combat vets especially, families, first responders. You know, I never thought there'd be a day in our country where it'd be almost as safe in Afghanistan as it is in many of our cities and towns with our police officers.
And then
I was a hospital chaplain for several years and saw the trauma that our docs, our nurses, our medics, our ambulance,
sure.
You know, crews go through, and just to be a blessing, and not just that, anybody who needs help. That's what we're here for.
Yep, and that's what it's about, you know. And
exactly.
And you know as well as I do that it helps us with our healing when we're helping others. You can't, I don't know how to say it. It's not that you can't give enough, but the more you give, the more you want to keep giving to help others. Because it really benefits you to do that.
It's true, and I, you know, believe with all my heart that God uses our scars, our pain, and our past to help us to go through that walk with people who are hurting today, and to use what we've been through to help others who are going through it now. Yeah. And I never thought that when I used to work with wounded warriors that one day I'd be a wounded warrior, or to help those with PTSD or TBI, that one day I would be one of them.
Right.
And it's never easy, but by God's grace and the help of others, I'm a survivor.
I understand that survival, I do.
And our horses are survivors, and they have PTSD or PTS because of some of the ways they were abused. And to see their healing, you know, some who weren't supposed to make it through the night, now be able to be used to help others who are hurting. And the good thing is with Kelly and Ryan and myself, none of us take a penny. We're, you know, I'm a retired lieutenant colonel with VA disability, and, you know, Kelly and Ryan are awesome, and they have their businesses, and 100% goes towards our horses and our vets. And so if we can help one person, you know, make a difference in one life, maybe stop somebody from being part of that 22, it's worth everything.
Absolutely. You just hit on something I was going to mention earlier. It goes without saying, and I'm sure you know, that you just never really know or understand what the smallest kindness shown to somebody else, how that could possibly impact and change their life.
Definitely.
And if it's not hard to be nice. You might have to work at it sometimes. Sometimes I do as well. But again, you never know. And I'll share with you something when we're finished about how that very thing changed the course of somebody else's life. And I had no idea until down the road. Then it was just one little gesture, one little thing said to two individuals that pulled them out of the pit, let's say. They just pulled them up out of the pit. So you never know. So that means if you can be nice, be nice.
Exactly.
If you can't be, just kind of zip it.
And that's hard to do sometimes.
Yeah, just zip it.
Patience is sometimes very difficult for those who struggle and have been deployed. And, you know, it's not unusual for someone to come back and want to go back to Afghanistan or back to Iraq. And a lot of people don't understand that. And part of the reason is, you know, being close to your battle buddies and having that purpose for living. You know, then you come back and you don't really have patience for things that aren't life and death or that don't seem to have meaning.
Exactly.
And so you search for that. And with the Hope Project, I've found more meaning, and it's been good for me. And just to have a horse love on you, that you know has been through tough times.
Yeah.
It's amazing what that can do. And someone can talk to you or they can talk to me. And the normal response when you ask a vet, how you doing? What do they say? I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good, Chaplain. I used to get that all the time. And I knew they were lying to me.
Get the thumbs up. Yep, all good.
But there have been times I didn't know that someone was struggling, and maybe even struggling with suicide, and I didn't know. The blessing about horses, they can read your emotions, and they know that you're not good, and they know that you're not fine or what you might be struggling with, and to be able to see them interact, it's just an amazing thing to watch and to see happen in my own life with them.
Well, I definitely want to make it up to Chipley.
Yes.
Because I want to be on your facility. I want to try and do a little bit of videoing while I'm there.
Yes, please.
If we can make that happen. And I've got to bring my wife.
Oh, yes.
And if I can talk some brothers and sisters into coming along, I'll give you a heads up first.
Sure.
And yeah, we'll make our way to Chipley. It's not that far.
No, in fact, we're halfway between Chipley and here in Panama City. We're up 77, go past 20. And there's a Rainbow gas station about 5-6 miles. We are right behind that Rainbow gas station. You'll see the horses out there. And we're here for our wounded warriors and our vets with PTSD especially. You know, don't worry about money. You know, you come, and we're there to help. And that's really what we're about.
Well, I'm excited. I hope some of the things we talked about earlier before we came in to do the videotaping, I hope we can make some of those come to fruition here in PC as well, as far as, I'm not going to give it away, but working with a couple of VSOs here and see if we can do a little bit of exhibition. That's all I'm going to say. So anyway.
And, you know, if you know anyone who's hurting, especially, you know, a vet or a first responder, send them to us. We will reach out to them. And I'm a chaplain. I'm available 24 hours a day. And our books, we give those out for free to our wounded warriors, to our first responders, to our combat vets.
Good deal.
We just want to help.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe we can pan in on this, whatever the technical term is. First, I got my finger over it, first aid. And this is the book that David co-authored. Who was your co-author again?
Dr. Eddie Moody.
Eddie Moody. Well worth a read. And I'm going to make sure I finish this one today.
All right.
Because I want to finish this today. But anyway, so we invite you to find us on YouTube, Military Hour, Commodore Productions from WKGC here at Gulf Coast. Student-run broadcast services here, and they do a terrific job putting up with this old bird here. And I do appreciate this college and all the effort they put into helping veterans. Truly is a military-friendly college, and they do great things here. And until the next time, because I want you to come back, and you've got an open invitation.
Thank you.
I want to see how things are going, but more than that, I'm going to come see you before you come back here.
There you go.
Thank you, David.
That's an
order. I appreciate it, brother. You outranked me. I was only a Spec 4, so.
My wife outranks me and always has and always will. So.
Amen. I got one like that too, and I'm thankful for her.
Amen.
So appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. We're out.